Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my must-start players for week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. Inside of today's video, we're going to be creating a lineup on Owner's Box Fantasy Sports, which is a super flex DFS website and app, and we're going to be breaking down the players that I want to be inserting into my lineup because I believe that they are must-start players for week 1 of 2021 fantasy football. Inside of the video, we're going to be entering the $100,000 NFL Week 1 contest that you guys can enter for free. Just make sure that you guys sign up with the link in the description, and then in a minute or two, I'm going to show you guys how to enter the contest for free. Again, inside of today's video, we're really focusing in on week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season and talking about my must-start players for week number 1. All of the other week 1 content is going to start flying your way on Monday. Obviously, there are still drafts going on right now, so we're really trying to focus on draft content right now, but I thought this video would really help you guys out because it is a free entry into a contest where you guys can win a bunch of money. But before we get on in to the breakdown of my must-start week 1 players, I'd like to ask if you guys are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out this content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you're new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So you're going to begin on Owner's Box Fantasy by, after you sign up, going to the lobby, and then you're going to find your way to the $100,000 NFL Week 1 contest. The roster positions for this DFS website is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, as well as a super flex. The scoring settings are 1 point per 20 yards of passing/return yards. Rushing and receiving yards are 1 point per 10 yards. Touchdowns are 6 point, 1 point per reception, -3 points for an interception, -1 point for a sack surrender, -3 points for a fumble loss, and 2 points per 2-point conversion. And the payout structure is as followed on your screen. So you guys are going to want to go ahead and click the build lineup button, and then at the top of the screen, it's going to ask you guys to add a promo code. I will have this written down in the description as well. You're just going to want to type in Drew9 in all caps, and you guys are going to get a free entry into this contest. So please make sure that you check it out. So the first position I want to be talking about of the must starts is going to be the quarterback position. At the quarterback position, I very much like 2 games this week that I believe are going to have both quarterbacks in each of those games put up very big fantasy points. The first matchup to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Atlanta Falcons. While I am not completely sold in on Jalen Hurts being an elite fantasy football option week in and week out for fantasy football in 2021, in this matchup up against the Atlanta Falcons, we have 2 teams with pretty solid offenses. Matt Ryan has Calvin Ridley, he has Kyle Pitts, he has Russell Gage, he has a solid offense there. Jalen Hurts obviously doesn't have the same skill set of weapons around him, but Devante Smith should be fine. Jalen Reagor, they do still have options to throw the ball in Philadelphia, and both of these teams do not have very good defenses at all, so this could be a barn burner game, a bloodbath between both of these 2 teams. So I think both of those quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts as well as Matt Ryan, are must-start quarterbacks for the week. I also like another game with both quarterbacks that I'm in favor of this week, and that is Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings going up against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Now, Joe Burrow, I do not believe will be fully 100% for week number 1, but he did look fine in the preseason game that he did end up playing in week number 3 of preseason, so I'm pretty confident that he is going to be perfectly fine in this matchup. Another case of good offenses versus very bad defenses, and both teams have good offenses and bad defenses, so I believe this is going to be a very, very high-scoring game. Now, on a season-long standpoint, I don't love Kirk Cousins to be my quarterback the whole season because in those matchups where he's playing up against a good defense, Kirk Cousins does kind of struggle, but this is a case of Kirk Cousins playing up against a very bad Cincinnati Bengals defense, and Kirk Cousins should be able to slice him up O.J. Simpson style, so I'm a big fan of both of those quarterbacks in both of those games. So all 4 quarterbacks to me are must-start candidates. If Trey Lance was the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions, this guy may legitimately be the number 1 quarterback on the week. The Detroit Lions defense is so fucking bad. The San Francisco 49ers are going to go to absolute pound town up against that defense. Another quarterback I like for week 1, now this is definitely out of the ordinary. It's a revenge game of mono man Sam Darnold going up against the New York Football Jets. Now I understand that there's an entirely possible chance that the Panthers get stomped in that game, right? And Sam Darnold doesn't look very good, but for some reason, something is telling me that Sam Darnold is going to play very, very good in that game. I also like the Saints versus the Green Bay Packers. While Jameis Winston isn't some elite quarterback, I think he's going to be able to sling the pigskin a lot. The only downside of this game is both of these defenses are very solid. So with our starting quarterback, as well as our super flex, since the super flex, you want to be starting a quarterback, we're going to go with the double pump onto the Atlanta Falcons versus the Philadelphia Eagles and get both quarterbacks in that game. Next up, we have the running backs. Now, the biggest no-brainer must-start running back of the week is Christian McCaffrey going up against the New York Football Jets. On Owner's Box, his price is only $300 ahead of Dalvin Cook. While I like the Bengals versus the Minnesota Viking game, to me, it is just a no-brainer to get the best running back in the NFL, the best running back, at least in fantasy football. Some may argue that he's not as good as other running backs in the NFL, but for fantasy football, this dude is the king. He is going to be able to potentially average 30-plus points per game on the season in PPR, which is what Owner's Box is, and up against the Jets, this is a very easy smash matchup for Christian McCaffrey, and only $300 more than Dalvin Cook. That is the perfect price to be paying for McCaffrey. I'm definitely not here trying to downplay how good Dalvin Cook could be, though. This is a very solid matchup for him. Nick Chubb up against the Kansas City Chiefs is a solid matchup as well, but when it comes to week-to-week output for Nick Chubb, I feel like it's relatively safe, right? You know what he's going to do every single week, but his upside from a game-to-game basis is limited by Kareem Hunt, so he's not a guy that I'm overwhelmingly targeting in DFS, but obviously, guys, the biggest key to week number 1 is just starting your studs. You drafted these motherfuckers early on in the draft for a reason. Don't go ahead and try to reach on some crazy player that's on your bench that you drafted in the 15th round and throw him into your lineup. Just stick with the studs in week number 1, and then after that, you will see how things end up going. Maybe those studs you thought were studs actually suck, and then you go ahead and you change your lineup. But week number 1, it is really just to be sticking with your studs. The other running back that I like very much in a matchup is Mr. James Robinson going up against the Houston Texans. That is a game that I am going to be watching with a keen eye, because if Mark Ingram's the lead back, if David Johnson's the lead back, if Lindsey's the lead back, and we have a very good idea of who the Houston Texans lead running back is, that could be a guy that, while the team won't be very good, will be very valuable for fantasy football. I do like James Robinson here a lot up against the Houston Texans defense. I honestly think that is a very, very solid matchup. Naji Harris also pretty interesting up against the Buffalo Bills. This is a tough defense to be facing, with the fact that Naji Harris doesn't have the greatest of offensive lines, far from it, but if you drafted him in the first round, in the second round, you're going to be starting him every single time, so don't even overthink it. That is really the biggest key of the video. Another play I really like if you're in a deeper league is Mr. Raheem Mostert or Trey Sermon in this matchup up against the Detroit Lions. I talked about it before with Trey Lance. This is a smash matchup. Both of these running backs could double tap that defense. Who will get the first licks? Probably Raheem Mostert, so I think he's a very interesting week 1 start and will probably be a very interesting guy that I'm looking to ship off of my team in fantasy football. I think he could have a solid year, but if he goes balls deep in that Lions defense, then just trade him to someone who, you know, doesn't know that maybe that's going to be a big committee. Another running back I like, which may be a pretty hot take, is Damian Harris up against my Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins have a very solid defense as a whole, but up against the run, they did struggle last year. They got gashed up by Melvin Gordon and the Denver Broncos in that loss, and I think the defense is going to be good again, but up against the run, Damian Harris, who is now the clear lead back there. I always believed he was the clear lead back, but now with Sony Michel gone, I think the upside of Damian Harris on a year-long basis is very high, and in this week 1 matchup up against my Miami Dolphins, I expect him to honestly carve us up a little bit. Next up, we got the wide receiver position, a guy I am heavily targeting in these Owner's Box DFS games for week number 1 is Calvin Ridley. Now, with how we have comprised our team thus far, we have spent a bunch of money on the players already, $6,800 average for the players we already have on our team, so that is too pretty of a penny to be paying, but I think that maybe if you can get Ryan, you can get Pitts, and you can get Calvin Ridley all on same team, that is going to be very beneficial for you. Looking at the other wide receiver matchups, I like Jefferson up against the Bengals. Now with Irv Smith out for the whole season, I think that the wide receivers, Adam Thielen as well as Justin Jefferson, definitely get a solid tick up from that. Adam Thielen is also a very interesting play for week number 1, but we are going to be looking to stack our quarterbacks with their wide receivers here. So we're going to go ahead and snag Russell Gage for the Atlanta Falcons. Russell Gage is a player that I'm very interested deep down in drafts, as I believe he is the clear wide receiver number 2 in Atlanta, behind obviously Calvin Ridley being the number 1 guy on the team, and he did fill those shoes relatively well last season when Julio Jones went down. So I think a lot of people are really underrating how good Russell Gage could be on the season. Scrolling deeper down here, there's a play that I really like at wide receiver as well, and that is Devante Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, stacking the quarterback with a wide receiver. The reason why I really like Devante Smith this week is because a lot of people may not be super excited to play Devante Smith in this matchup. They may think that, hey, he's finally healthy. He didn't look the greatest in preseason. How good is Jalen Hurts going to be? And for that reason exactly is why I want to play him in this matchup. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I believe he is the true number 1 wide receiver in Philadelphia. So to me, that is a no-brainer. Looking at other wide receivers I really like, one of them is Marquez Callaway going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I understand that the Green Bay Packers have a pretty tough defense, but I think if Jameis Winston is just slinging the rock all game long, like I believe he will, then Callaway is going to have some solid value in this game, as it could be a relatively high-scoring game, but I wouldn't be surprised if things went completely south and it was low-scoring, but I am trying to win here. I'm trying to get the best-case scenario, and I think that Callaway is in a solid spot here. The other flex that I really want on my team is a wide receiver, and that is Corey Davis up against the Carolina Panthers. I did talk about the potential Sam Darnold skull-fucking of the New York Football Jets, but I don't expect Zach Wilson to roll over on his belly and get pet by the defense. Corey Davis is the clear number 1 wide receiver on this New York Football Jets team, and at $4,600, I think that is basically a no-brainer. Final position to touch on in the video is tight end. We already have Matt Ryan, so we are going to stack him with Kyle Pitts here. On the season, I'm a little bit nervous about Kyle Pitts if you guys watch my videos, because I talk about how rookie tight ends have a hard time. They struggle in their rookie year to finish in the top 5 at the tight end position. Only one has done it in the last 10 years, last decade, and that is Easy-E, Evan Ingram. Could it happen again here with Kyle Pitts? 100%, but in this matchup, he is certainly a must-start player. If you're looking deeper down at the tight end position, I also like Robert Tonyan up against the Saints. I think a lot of people are severely underrating the potential of Dallas Goedert because Zach Ertz is there. Oh no, I'm not really all that worried. I also like Jared Cook a lot this season. I think not too many people are talking about him, and his upside is very big for the LA Chargers up against the Washington football team and on the season as a whole. So again, guys, this video was sponsored by Owner's Box. Please make sure that you do check them out. Again, when you go ahead and submit your lineup, you want to add the promo code, type in Drew9, and you guys get a free entry into the contest. I'm going to go ahead and slide myself onto the left side of the screen. So if you guys want to copy my lineup, you can go ahead and do that, or you can build your very own lineup and try to win some money on week number 1. Why not enter? It's free. Again, please make sure you use the link down below in the description. More week 1 content is coming next Monday. Next Monday and on, we're full steam ahead for week number 1 and the regular season as a whole. I love you guys so much. Please make sure that you check out Owner's Box, the link down below in the description. Make sure you enter promo code Drew9, and send me down below your guys' lineups. I would love to read them. Thank you guys for watching so much. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.